Hello there! My name is Tanner, and I'd like to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. Now, today's video will be a part 3 to my DecembeRPG series, linked to the previous parts in the cards and in the description. For those of you who don't know, I'm creating a role-playing game, or RPG for short, based on my fantasy world. Now, because of this, I decided to create some of my own characters for that world, one for each day in the month of December, using the way that I made up for any future players of my fantasy RPG. I would roll a d8, an 8-sided die for those of you who don't know, and whatever number it landed on for that day would be the archetype for the character that I made that day. Now, like with the last couple of videos, I'm going to read the lore of each character first, and then talk about the character themselves and the creative process behind each one. So, without further ado, here is DecembeRPG Part 3. Yuri Snowman was born the changeling son of a human mother and a northern elf father. His parents were prominent members of their small northern village, with harsh winters and short summers. One day, when Yuri was a young child, he found an Aklut cub that seemed to have been orphaned. The poor creature was so scared and cold that Yuri could not help but take pity on it. He picked up the cub and took it back to his parents' hut, and kept it warm by the fire, and nursed it back to health. Now, when the Aklut cub felt well again, it and Yuri became fast friends, and Yuri's parents, though cautious at first, definitely warmed up to the adorable little cub. One fateful day, Yuri and the cub were playing on a nearby lake, which was frozen over at the time. They played and played together until Yuri accidentally stepped on a particularly thin patch of ice, which immediately broke from under him, and he sank down into the blue. The Aklut immediately knew something was wrong, and dove in after him. When it caught up to him, it grabbed the hood of his jacket in its jaws, and dragged him up towards the surface. It got him to shore, and laid him down. He wasn't moving, and he wasn't breathing. The Aklut, knowing something was wrong, but not knowing how to help, nuzzled Yuri on the cheek. Suddenly, Yuri woke up in a shock, as if something started burning intensely within him, and he felt some of that burning warmth on his right hand, which suddenly had a strange mark, like a brand, shaped almost like a paw print, encased in a droplet of water. Suddenly, he heard a voice in his head. "Friend, are you hurt?" Yuri looked over and saw that the Aklut was standing over him, with a look that told him his friend was concerned about him. He knew that the voice he heard, somehow, came from the Aklut, and he smiled, letting his friend know that he was all right. From that day forward, they had formed a rider's bond together, and their lives would never be the same. Now, the first role that I got for this week was also the first time I got a rider character. So, once again, I used a character from my fantasy novel. Of course, I had to flesh him out a little bit more, but there you go. I gave him an Aklut for a mount, a creature that is half wolf, half orca, for those of you who don't know, because I thought, considering his northern climate, it would make a lot of sense. I also like to imagine that Yuri and Iceberg, the name of the Aklut, are basically polar opposites in personality. On the one hand, Yuri is very much the serious, stoic, strong yet silent type character, whereas Iceberg acts pretty much like an overgrown puppy. Dominic Felice met Hecate one day when he saw a magic show she was putting on. When they saw each other, it was love at first sight. After a while, baby Kyra surprised them, and, as is tradition, Hecate told Dominic that Kyra was to be raised by him as her mortal parent. She was still in Kyra's life, but until the day Kyra first cast a spell, she did not know her true heritage. Also, like most part wearers, Kyra experienced her first change under the first full moon after her 13th birthday. Now, the second role for this week came up a half-blood demigod, so I thought to give them Hecate, the immortal that the ancient Greeks worshipped as the goddess of magic, or witchcraft, whichever you prefer, among other things, as their mother. Then, after that, I thought, what if this character was part cat, since witches stereotypically have black cats? Then, when I thought more, it hit me. What if her father was a were-wisp, a were-beast will-o'-the-wisp hybrid, that was part were-cat, and when she uses her magic, her will-o'-the-wisp flames become the spell that she incants. And so, Kyra Felice was born. Webster Silvertrap was born a hybrid, specifically a werepire, even more specifically, a Tsuchigumo, the son of a were-spider father and a vampire mother. Sadly, his father mysteriously disappeared before he was born, and his mother died shortly after he was born. She knew she wasn't going to make it, and so she whispered, "Please, let someone take care of my boy, my Webster." Little did she know, one of Anansi's subjects, aka a spider, was listening in, and reported to him with this request. Anansi found the newborn next to his mother, and took pity on the baby. The Weaver of Stories took in the young Webster and raised him as his own son. When he was deemed old enough, Anansi told him about what happened to his bio parents. Webster vowed that day he would find out what happened to his father, and avenge him if he had to. Wolfrick Wilder grew up the son of two traveling archaeologists. Growing up exploring the world, finding cool artifacts, meeting new people, it was the dream of a young, impressionable mage. Now, when he was a young boy, his magic specialty was realized, and his parents were especially thrilled to find out that their son specialized in animal magic. When he was old enough, his parents decided it would be better for him to stay with his relatives, but that they would mirror chat with him every day. Wolfrick was at first annoyed with his new living situation, but as he got used to it, he grew to enjoy being around his aunt, his uncle, and his cousins, especially since they lived on a farm with a lot of animals. Now, this role came up mage, and so I had the idea to create Wolfrick, a mage whose magical specialty revolves around animals. Now, what this means is it gives him spells to either enhance parts of his body to the extent of various animals. For example, the speed of a cheetah, the strength of an elephant, the ears of a bat, etc. And it also allows him to summon spectral animals for various effects. For example, a tortoise to act as a shield, a rhino to act as a battering ram, a monkey to cause a random effect to occur, etc. Pretty wild, right? Everyone knows the story of Alice's adventures in Wonderland, but what happened after those adventures came and went? Well, the answer to that is Alice decided to return to Wonderland to settle down, at least as much as you can in that chaotic country. She met up with her old friends, and especially took a liking to her friend Rabbit White, otherwise known as the White Rabbit, and they developed feelings for each other, as most sapient beings do. However, there were some rather obvious problems with that, so they employed the help of Mother Goose to see if the spell that she used on Weatherby would work on the White Rabbit. Mother Goose accepted the offer, and when she tried to use the same spell, it actually worked. Similarly to Weatherby, Rabbit became human, but still had some rabbit-like features, such as larger than average feet, ears, and front teeth. But they lived a rather happy life afterward, and a few years into their marriage, their son Alistair was born. Now, this role landed on Storyborn, and so, once again, here is another character based on my fantasy novel. Anyway, Alistair is the son of the White Rabbit of Wonderland and Alice Little of the same story. Of course, I had to hand wave the whole Mother Goose spell solution in order to avoid some uncomfortable questions. One funny quirk that I gave Alistair is the fact that, due to his father being the White Rabbit, no matter what, Alistair will always be late. And I do mean always. Yolanda Diaz was considered a pillar of her community, and as head of the lawkeeper department, always made sure to keep her town safe and secure. The fact that she could transform into a half-human, half-dragon definitely didn't hurt. The people in her town loved her, as not only was she the one who, A, kept lawbreakers at bay as much as possible, and B, kept all the other lawkeepers under her from becoming corrupt, but she was also the type of person to help others who couldn't help themselves. One day, a mysterious stranger appeared in town and told Yolanda that he was a traveler. He asked Yolanda if there was a place to stay for the time being, and Yolanda immediately said that her house was available and had plenty of room. So he spent a few nights there, and then a few more nights, and then a few more nights. Soon the lawkeeper and the mysterious stranger had fallen in love, and a few months into their relationship, Yolanda found out that she was pregnant. With this revelación, the mysterious stranger revealed himself to be Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent himself, and therefore their child would be a demigod. He went on to tell Yolanda that, as is la tradición, Yolanda was to be the caretaker of the young child, but Quetzalcoatl would visit as often as he could. A few months after they found out, Yolanda had laid her egg. She's part dragon, what did you expect? And after a few months of incubation, her baby daughter Luminosa was hatched. So the final role for this week was another half-blood demigod. So I thought to create a character whose mother was a dragonborn, a half-dragon demimyth, and whose father was the feathered serpent himself, Quetzalcoatl, whom the ancient Aztecs worshipped as the god of, among other things, the light, the wind, and knowledge. Now, this character admittedly was originally going to be a male character, but then I thought to myself, I already have a lot of male characters and not a whole lot of female characters, and so, boom, gender swap. I also imagine that despite the rather fearsome appearance of her magical form, Luminosa is basically a giant teddy bear, or teddy snake, rather. And there we have it. That was part 3 of my DecembeRPG series. If you want to read more about these characters, I'll put the links to their respective articles on my website in la descripción box below. If you like this video and you want more, please give this video a like and subscribe down below so you don't miss any new videos. Also, if there are any other ideas that you'd want to see in future videos, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and it might just happen. Alright, well, that's all the time I have for this video, so I will see you actually later this week with a very special video. See you then!